If you enjoyed the video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. It really helps the channel out. This video is an overview of the Boarding Butchers 10th edition Boarding Actions Detachment for the World Eaters. I will show the units you can select from when using this detachment. I go over the Army Rule, Detachment Rule, Enhancements and Stratagems, finally with an example list with a general game plan of what we want to do with this list. And these Boarding Actions detachments will have allowed units for each detachment, and here's the list for the allowed units for the Boarding Butchers. For a total of 500 points, you can include up to 2 of the following units: Karn the Betrayer and a World Eater's Master of Executions. You can include up to 3 of each of the following units: Khorne Berserkers 5 to 10 and Jackals 10. You can include up to 1 of the following units: a unit of 3 8-bound or a unit of 3 Exalted 8-bound. And then finally, you can include up to 1 of each of the following units: a unit of 2 Chaos Spawns and a unit of 5 World Eaters Terminators. There is some rules adaptations for the Boarding Butchers. When performing a boarding squad, usually if you have a 10-man, you have to break it up into a 5-man, even if in normal 40k it comes in a 10-man, but you do not split Jackal units into separate boarding squads for the Boarding Butchers. Also have the Exalted 8-bound unit loses the Overwhelming Wrath ability. And that one is if your engagement range, you have to take a Battle Shock test, and if failed, you have to remain stationary. That one is gone. The Jackals lose the Objective Ravage ability, the Sticky Objectives ability. Karn the Betrayer loses the Betrayer ability, and that one was the one where he would kill bodyguard models. The Khorne Berserkers lose the Blood Surge ability, and that one was the move D6 after being shot. And then finally, the World Eater's Chaos Spawn loses the Regeneration Monstrosities ability, and that was heal D3 in every one of our command phases. For the Boarding Actions World Eaters Army Rule, it is called Slaughterer's Glory. Units from your army with the Blessings of Khorne ability retain that ability and gain this one. At the start of the battle round, when making a Blessings of Khorne roll, roll 4 dice instead of 8d6. You can only activate 1 Blessing of Khorne per battle round instead of up to 2. The World Eaters Boarding Butchers Detachment Rule is Focused Ferocity. Each time a World Eaters unit from your army declares a charge, each target of that charge must take a Battle Shock test. Next, we'll go over all the core enhancements that you could choose from when picking a list. Enhancements cost 0 points in Boarding Actions. First up, we have Trademark Weapon. When you select this enhancement, select 1 ranged weapon equipped by the bearer, excluding torrent weapons, and make a note of this on your army roster. Add 1 to the strength and damage characteristic of that weapon. Then there's Superior Boarding Tactics. You start the battle with 2 CP. Close Quarters Killer. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack, you can re-roll the wound roll. Then we have Expert Breacher. The bearer's unit can attempt to operate a hatchway at the start or end of the move step of your movement phase. The bearer's unit cannot attempt to operate more than 1 hatchway per turn though. Then there is Peerless Leader. Once per battle, the bearer can be targeted with the Battlefield Command Stratagem for 0 CP, even if you have already targeted a different unit with that stratagem this phase. Then finally, we have Personal Teleporter, and that just gives the bearer the Deep Strike ability. Now we will go through all of the stratagems that we have available. We'll start with the 5 core stratagems first. First up, we have Battlefield Command for 1 CP. At the start or end of any phase, 1 leader unit from your army and 1 friendly bodyguard unit within 6 inches of it that could normally be attached to. Select one of your leader unit's leader abilities. Until the start of your next command phase, that bodyguard unit is treated as being led by that leader unit for the purposes of the leader ability. There is a restriction with this one. Once you target a unit with this stratagem, that unit cannot be targeted with it again until the next command phase. So you can't double up on this, putting 2 different abilities on 1 unit. Next, we have the Simple Counteroffensive for 2 CP. In the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has fought, you can fight next. Next one is a new one for Boarding Actions, Explosive Clearance for 1 CP, a battle tactic. In your shooting phase, 1 unit from your army that has not selected to shoot this phase. Select 1 model in your unit that is equipped with a weapon with the Blast ability. until the end of the phase when determining how many models are in the target unit for the purpose of that ability, including models that are not visible to the attacking model. In addition, attacks made with that weapon can be allocated to models that are not visible to the attacking model. Insane Bravery for 1 CP is Epic Deed. In the Battle Shock step of your command phase, just after you failed a Battle Shock test taken for the unit from your army, your unit is treated as having passed that test and is not Battle Shocked as the result. And there's no restrictions with Boarding Actions Insane Bravery. In regular 40k, you can only use this before you roll your Battle Shock test, and you can only use it once per game. Boarding Actions, it looks like you can use it multiple times per game and after you have failed that Battle Shock. And then finally, the simple command reroll. So you can reroll the hit, wound roll, damage roll, all those fine things. 1 CP, you can reroll that test or saving throw. The Boarding Butchers Detachment does have 2 enhancements. The first one is Chosen of Khorne. Once the bearer has destroyed 1 or more enemy units until the end of the battle, each time you make a Blessings of Khorne roll, if the bearer is on the battlefield, you can reroll all of the dice. If you do so, you must reroll every dice. Then we have Battle Lust. Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot, after that unit has shot, if the bearer was the target of 1 or more of those attacks, it can make a Battle Lust move. To do so, roll 1d6. The bearer can be moved a distance in inches up to the result, but must end the move as close as possible to the attacking unit. When doing so, the bearer can be moved within engagement range of that enemy unit, but only that enemy unit. So this is Blood Surge, but in enhancement form. We'll go over the Boarding Butchers Stratagems. The first one is Unstoppable Rage. In your movement phase, just after World Leader's unit from your army opens a hatchway, for each enemy unit within 3 inches of that hatchway and wholly on the opposite side of it from your unit, until the start of your next movement phase, that enemy is stunned. While an enemy is stunned, each time a model in it makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Next up is Coward's Bane. Your opponent's movement phase, just after an enemy unit has selected to fall back, and your target is 1 World Leader's unit from your army within engagement range of an enemy unit, excluding a Jackal unit, until the end of the phase. Each time that enemy unit falls back, models in it must take a Desperate Escape test, as if it were Battle Shocked. When doing so, if that enemy unit is also Battle Shocked from other means, subtract 1 from each of those Desperate Escape tests. Next up is Savage Resilience for 1 CP. Your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit was selected as its targets, until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated to a model in your unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. Last, we have Terrifying Screams for 1 CP. In the fight phase, just after a World Eater's unit from your army has destroyed an enemy unit, until the end of your opponent's next command phase, subtract 1 from Battle Shock and Leadership tests taken for all enemy units. And those are the 4 stratagems for the World Eater's Boarding Butchers Detachment. And here is the example list for the Boarding Butchers Detachment. It comes to 500 points exactly. Our Warlord is Karn the Betrayer. We have 3 battle line units, a 10-man unit of Jackals, and then 2 5-man units of Khorne Berserkers. There is a Viscerator, 2 plasma pistols, and an Icon of Khorne in each unit. And then finally, we have a unit of 3 Exalted 8-bound with a heavy chain glaive in that unit. Here's a few tips for this list when using the Boarding Butchers Detachment. I like Karn in this list since he retains the Fight on Death ability. It makes him scary to be charged by and scary to charge into. I have lots of units for the Secure Sights tactical maneuver, allowing me to sticky objectives and keep those units in the fight. My Exalted 8-bound will start in Deep Strike to handle any threats that may open up later into the game. And with this list, there is a lot of bodies on the board. With some strong stratagems paired with good army and detachment rules, this should be a hard list to beat. Savage Resilience will protect from high damage ranged attacks. With the Battle Shock stratagem, Terrifying Screams, and Coward's Bane, once the Boarding Butchers make combat with enemy units, it will be very hard for those enemy units to get back out of combat before they're dead. Unstoppable Rage, adding even more survivability with the -1 to the hit roll. I think this is a strong detachment. I can't wait to show off more of these detachments. I'm having a lot of fun going through these. On to my final thoughts. This was an overview video. I did not want to focus on the list as much as the actual detachment. Dedicated list videos will be coming out in between covering these many different Boarding Actions detachments. Boarding Butchers looks to be a lot of fun and a tough opponent in the boarding actions. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more Warhammer 40k content. Thanks for watching, and thanks for stopping by.